there's really no reason to start if nobody's here. So.
Oh, I started it.
Oh, okay.
I think they start popping up as you hit start. I don't know if we could see if they get in before. See how they starting to pop up? It's 6, 7.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So I don't have a message to let anybody in. That's different.
Yeah. The webinar, it just, if they got the invitation, they
Oh,
got
I
the
see.
password, and they just kind of populate in once we hit start webinar.
Okay, got you. Good.
For those who are here, we're going to start in about 5 minutes. We just wanted to get everybody in. We got Blake, Isadora, Jocelyn, Kayla, Margaret, Monet, Penny, Ralph, Stephanie, Thaddeus. Got about 11 people right now. Welcome, everybody.
I want to go ahead and start the webinar.
Go ahead and start.
Sure.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm the CARES Peer Workforce Coordinator. My name is Dwayne Ellis, but I'm also a person in long-term recovery, which means that it's been 4 years now since I've used any mind-altering drugs to change the way I feel. We usually clap. And recovery has awarded me the opportunity to live my truth and finally be proud of it. Welcome to the November webinar where you will learn about social identity mapping. Let's go over a few housekeeping rules before we begin. Those who stay for the entirety will earn 1.5 CEUs. And when submitting your CEUs, keep up with your month that you attended the CEU training, the topic, and the panelists, which in this case would be George Brott. Larry has already began to send out the CEU submission emails. And if you have any questions regarding your CEUs, you can reach out to me after this webinar at dwayne@gasubstanceabuse.org. You will not receive a certificate after this, only a follow-up email thanking you for your participation in the webinar. You will be muted throughout the entirety of this webinar. You will be able to raise your hand, and there's a Q&A box at the bottom if you have any questions, and you can put them in there, and I will monitor that and make sure George gets to your question. Any other questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat or email me afterwards if they do not have to do with the webinar. And without further ado, I want to introduce one of the co-founders of Georgia Council on Substance Abuse. It is George Brott, the greatness himself.
Thank you, Dwayne. So just want to start off with the tune.
Life so complicated. I think I'm not gonna make it sometimes, but then I think of you. I can see you through days so convoluted. You turn around and dispute it. Sometimes like a memory of a tragedy helping me. I wanna be me, and you wanna be you. They wanna be us, and we wanna be them. Going round again, going round again. tragedy helping me. I wanna be me. You wanna be you. They wanna be us. We wanna be them. Going round again, going round again, going round again, going round again, going round again. I wanna be me. You wanna be you. They wanna be us. We wanna be them. Going round again. You wanna be you. Going round again. They wanna be us. We wanna be them. Going round again. You wanna be you. Going round. They wanna be us. I wanna be them. I wanna be me. You wanna be you. Going round. They wanna be us. We wanna be them. I wanna be me. You wanna be you. Going round. They wanna be us. I wanna be them. I wanna be me. You wanna be you. Going round. They wanna be us. We wanna be them. I wanna be me. You wanna be you. Going round. They wanna be us. I wanna be them. I wanna be me. You wanna be you. Going round. They wanna be us. We wanna be them. I wanna be me. You wanna be you. Going round. They wanna be us. I wanna be them.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. I'm delighted to be with you this afternoon into the early evening, and want to just introduce you to the musician. And this is John Kelly. Some of you may recognize the name, and you don't typically see him holding a guitar or playing the piano. This is his day job picture. And his day job is he is the director of the Recovery Research Institute at Massachusetts General Hospital. He's a faculty member at Harvard. And I've recently got to know him fairly well and discovered his musical abilities go way back. He started playing when he was 14 years old. But I think this song has significance today, because it really is about how we're struggling with identity. And I think the heart of the whole recovery process, or the core of the whole recovery process, gets down to that issue of identity. And recovery-oriented or redemption-oriented, person-directed and outcome-informed services privilege the individual's voice and choice. And in contrast to traditional emphasis on avoiding or pushing away from pain or other consequences, peer services promote the pull power of contagious hope that leans into refining identity and empowering one's purpose via meaningful connections or relationships. So social identity mapping is a self-assessment and trackable visual representation of current group memberships, including those groups' salience, density, and compatibility, to temporarily answer the question that you heard me ask you often: who or whose are you? So Upon completion of this seminar, what I'd like for you to be able to do is to construct a social identity map. Also recognize the psychological significance of the groups to which you belong. Identify the differences and the compatibilities among the groups that you belong to, and then be able to explain perhaps a next step to enhance your social identity. So as I typically do when we get together, I want to start by inviting you to take a moment to be silent and still, and begin this by perhaps giving yourself an affirmation for the unique value and worth that you bring to our community. Nobody can do exactly what you do. And then secondly, perhaps express gratitude to the elders who paved the way and who make the life that you enjoy today possible. Maybe even going all the way back to the First Nations people who took such good care of Mother Earth that we enjoy the beauty and the bounty that's all around us today. And in our case, we're really talking about the Okmulgee or Creek or Cherokee Indians, depending on who you want to ask. So let's just take a moment to be silent and still.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sound of silence.
Thank you. I don't know what came up for you in that minute. I just believe something did. It always does for me. And it really is about our awareness of that connection that we have to all of us here, as well as to the ancestors that paved the way for us. So again, it is about being able to pay attention to the wisdom of those ancients, and as well as our own preferences and biases. So again, like this quote from George Eliot, who says, if we had a keen vision of all that's ordinary in human life, it would be like hearing the grass grow or the squirrel's heartbeat, and we should die of that roar, which is the other side of silence. And I think you bring to this work a special ability to hear the cries and celebrate those in a way that validates that you understand them, and really work with the individual to figure out whatever their next step is. And the challenge in doing this work is that sometimes what they think they want to do or where they want to go may be different than what we think is best. So it really is about aligning.
But like a compass seeking north, there lives in me a still, sure spirit part. Clouds of doubt are cut asunder by the lightning and the thunder, shining from the compass of my
So it's about aligning those compasses, and it's not necessarily the case that they're all pointing towards the exact same true north, but understanding where that other person's next step is toward north is what's vital to this process. So what I want to do now, Dwayne, is if I put something in the Q&A, will everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't see a way to do that.
You would have to put it in the chat because the Q&A is strictly for the attendees, but everybody can see the questions in the Q&A.
Ah, I didn't see chat there for a minute. Good. So I want to invite everybody to click on that link, which will take you into this mural. And you shouldn't have to sign in or do anything other than maybe you do have to put your name in, but there's no, oh, sorry, Colleen. Thank you, Susan. So there's the link. And when you click on it, it should open another window in your browser in this mural. And what I'd like to do is just plan to do the rest of the webinar in this mural. Now, in case anybody isn't able to see that mural or get into it for one reason or another, I will also display it on the Zoom window, but please don't get confused between which window you're looking at. Because the value of the mural is that it will allow you and me to collaborate. And I see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 folks who are in the mural. Good. So this is the big picture of what we're going to do tonight. And let me just start off by, you pretty much probably already know this, but basically my what is about promoting professional and professional growth and personal development. And you probably all know my background, so I won't go into a whole lot of that, but basically my background's in psychology. And at some point in my career, some people came to me and said, you're pretty good at what you do, but we think you can be better. And they supported me climbing out of a pretty dark hole. And that was 30 years ago when I decided to stop using alcohol and other drugs and really begin to address the behavioral health challenges that I was experiencing in my life. So, Michelle, can you, let's see, I'll do it here. There's the link. So my why really is about the people who support me, both in the past, but also today. And you see the pictures of my family on here, as well as down at the bottom, the parole board, which I spent 27 years working with. And it really is about those connections and how people have loved me sometimes when I didn't deserve to be loved, but through a mutually beneficial and supportive relationship, hopefully we are all better off. And that dog that's there in the middle, that's Frodo. That's the animal that when I leave and come home, I guarantee you that dog will be what meets me at the door. So that's the animal I live with. So enough about me. Let's do a relatively quick check-in. And what I'd like to do is invite all of you to come to the check-in area. And I'm going to start a poll question here in just a minute, but the check-in question is, how do you feel right now? So which color most closely describes your current emotional state? We'll start with red. Do you feel out of control or struggling to control anger, rage, devastation, or terror? Do you feel yellow, meaning heightened awareness and elevated sense of frustration or anxiety? Do you feel green, as in calm, alert, happy, content, focused, and ready to engage and learn? Or maybe you feel blue, a little bit of low alertness, maybe fatigued or bored or sad or sick. Or maybe you feel gray, just not sure what you're feeling. Or maybe you're purple. You have this intense sense of elation or euphoria. So what I want to invite all of you who are in the mural to do here is click on one of those colors and vote. And the poll is now open. Give you about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 more minute, or 1 more second rather. Our survey says all right, so 9 folks are feeling quite green, meaning they're calm, alert, ready to learn. We have a couple of folks who have a heightened sense of alertness or elevated sense of frustration or anxiety. And then we had several folks who voted on blank sticky notes. Now, again, the point of this isn't to say, oh, everybody ought to be green, but it's simply to acknowledge that this is a place where you're allowed to be who you are and how you feel at this moment, and not necessarily to change that in any way. So let me invite you over here. I want to go over some e-meeting guidelines. And just know that multitasking isn't productive or respectful or necessarily healthy. So I've got a couple I'd like to cover, and then we'll ask the golden question. So number 1, if you will turn on your video camera, I don't know if that's possible on this Zoom setup. But anyway, I don't know if you can unmute your microphone either, but I'd be really happy if we could have some conversations. Is that possible, Dwayne, or does everything have to go into chat?
So what they would have to do is they would have to raise their hand or put it in the chat. And when they raise their when they raise their hand, it would be up to me or you to click on them and unmute them and ask them to share their video.
Good. So number 2, if you promise not to check your email while we're here, I promise I won't waste your time. Or look at other apps or other things that you might be tempted to check on. 3, if you agree to look me in the eye and try to absorb what I'm saying, I will do my best to be crisp, cogent, to the point. Number 4, if you can encourage me and bring enthusiasm to our interactions, I can lean in to understand your perspective and reflect even more energy than you're contributing. 5, the purpose of this e-meeting is not to fill the allotted time, but rather my purpose is to communicate an idea and the associated emotions and to find out what's missing via engaged conversations. So what else would help make this a safe and respectful place to maximize your engagement and learning? For those of you who are in The mural, if you'll come into this space and double click, you will see a new sticky note that you can change the color on. You can do all kinds of things to it, but type in what else would make this a more safe and respectful place to maximize your engagement and learning. Anybody want to add anything?
You have a few people in the chat that are saying that their computer isn't allowing them to post a sticky note. If you could just explain it again, maybe it was a misunderstanding.
Take your mouse and just double click anywhere in the white space and a new sticky note will pop up, and you can drag the corners to make it larger or smaller. There you go. Thank you, Chip. So I see someone put in chat understanding. I'll add that to this note. See how that works. Good. Oh, it's not working on your phone. Sorry about that, Penny. Honesty. Okay. Lots of laughter. I like that. Okay. So the other item I see on here is to be informed. Very nice. Okay. So I want to bring everybody over to the ego identity wheel. Now, this is the place where when we talk about identity, the items that you see around this wheel are what often get the focus. And this is more of a personal identity. That's not what I'm talking about tonight. Those factors certainly do have an impact, but what's relevant here is more about the social identity, the social groups to which you are a part that inform those personal identity elements. So in John Kelly's Going Round Again, who remembers the chorus? What was the chorus of that song? And if you're in the mural, you can just type it in a new sticky note. Anybody remember? So the chorus was, I want to be me. You want to be you. They want to be us. And we want to be them. I think John Kelly really gets to the essence of a challenge that we're facing today. And that's the idea that, at least to some extent, there's this sense of not as good as or less than. And then on the other side of that coin is the sense that our group is better than. And it's, how do we balance that? How do we really create the spheres of life that allow us to cross over those boundaries and still be able to bring our full selves into community in a way that validates our worldview as well as that of other people. And this is not easy. I don't want to pretend that this is something that can be done with very little effort or energy. So let's do another poll. So this time the question is, and if you're not in the mural, you can put your answer in chat. Did you complete the pre-session assignment? And if you did, you hit yes. If you did not, press no, or the third option is wait, what? I didn't know there was a pre-assignment. Nice. No name, yes, good. Isidore, yes. Michelle, yes. And voting's not working for you, huh? Sorry, Susan. And Jocelyn, same. You're with us. Doesn't look like voting is working, huh? Okay. Well, not sure why that's the case. So I'll close the voting. And we have 5 yeses, 2, wait, what? I didn't know there was a pre-assignment, and then 1 no. Good. So I want to invite those of you who did the pre-assignment to pull that out and consider, if you're in the mural, providing some information, if you are comfortable doing so, on this notion of social identity mapping. So anybody know what the word Ubuntu means? Ever heard it before? Well, okay, good, Susan. Yeah, it is identity. And it's an old African concept that I am because of we. And it really gets to the heart of this idea about where in our culture, everything tends to be focused on individualism. Whereas in other cultures, identity is much more socially ingrained. So that Ubuntu is about how if I'm not part of us, I'm nothing. And it's not that I'm nothing, it's just that I have less value than if I am part of us. So it's that shift from a focus on me to a focus on we, and the value of being part of social groups. And this, I mean, it starts with the family, and as we grow older, it expands. The circles get larger, and we become members of different groups that enhance the quality of our life and our sense of who we are. That's really what social identity is about. So it's at least partly derived from the social networks to which you belong. And then group memberships have a really strong, positive, reciprocal relationship with your self-identity, with your values, and your beliefs. And in addition, situational factors influence which social identity is likely to be salient in any given context. So in certain contexts, your race may be what is most salient, what pops out as most relevant. In other contexts, it might be your gender. In other contexts, it might be your height or your weight, or whether you are able physically or mentally or behavioral health wise. So all of these different variables get condensed into our identity and show up in different ways in different contexts. So I want to invite you to just take a moment. And for those of you who did the pre-work, you've already done this. And if you are in the mural and you don't have this handout that was included in the pre-session assignment, if you're in the mural, you can go down here to the bottom and you see this little bitty open button. If you click on that, it will pull up the document in your web browser. So if you want to do that now would be a really good time. So I want to invite you to think about, or if you've got a piece of paper and you haven't already done this, list the groups of people with whom you have spent time virtually or in the same physical location during the last several months. Reviewing your calendar may be a useful way to really hone in on where you've actually spent time. You know, it's kind of like if you really want to know what your values are, go look at, well, we used to say, go look at your checkbook. I don't know if anybody uses checkbooks anymore, but go look at where you spent your money. That will tell you a lot about what values are really manifest in your behavior. So these groups can take any form. For example, they could be broad opinion-based or demographic groups, like I'm a feminist or I'm American. They might be leisure or social groups, like a book club or a gardening group. They might be community groups, like a faith group, or sporting groups, like maybe you're part of a softball team or a tennis team. Or it could be work groups. Are you part of the sales team? Or are you part of management? Or are you part of the executive team? And then other professional groups like trade unions, or you're certainly a certified addiction recovery empowerment specialist. So that's a group that would matter. So if you've got your list, the way this works best, I'm going to take this off so we can see the rest of this. How this works best is if you take each name of the group and put it on a separate size sticky. And as you can see illustrated here, use the size to show how important each group is to you. The largest sticky is for the groups that are most important. The medium size are for those that are moderately important, and then the smaller size are for the less important. And what I want to invite you to do, if you're in the mural, is come over here and pick one of these social identity maps. Oh, you don't have to move it. And put these in the proper location. So the size, again, determines how important that group is. Okay. Now, it's okay if you don't do that. We're not really going to spend a bunch of time actually exploring the maps, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to do that. So once you've got the main groups that you've spent time with in the last several months designated by the size of the sticky, the second step is to ask yourself, how positive do you feel about being a member of each one of those groups? From 1, not at all positive, to 10, very positive. And place the number in the top left corner of each of those stickies. So you can see it's illustrated here. Group A is a 10, meaning this is a very positive group for you. A 0 or a 1 would not be so positive. Now, you might ask the question, positive in what way? This is just simply your subjective sense of of how you feel about being a member of that group. So, for example, one of the groups that I belong to is the Methodist Church. Well, sometimes and it kind of fluctuates, not so much recently, but I would have to give that about a 5. It's an important group. It'd be a big sticky, but in terms of how positive I feel about being part of the Methodist Church, I'd give it a 5. And again, the point here isn't to have to explain why, but it's just to make your own self-assessment of that. Next, indicate the number of days in a typical month that you have engaged in some activity with each one of those groups, ranging from 0 to 30 days, and do that in the top right corner. Okay, so you would just simply grab one of these numbers. You can right click and hit duplicate, and then take and put that number in that top right hand corner. See how that works? Oops. Thought I had all these locked down. Obviously not. Next, indicate the number of years that you've belonged to each group, and do that in the bottom left corner. So for me, Methodist Church, I was born into it. I think I may have actually been born in the church. Not really, but my parents were devoted Methodists. And in fact, I can honestly say when First United Methodist Church in Warner Robins doors were open, 9 times out of 10, we were there. At least one person in my family was there. And at one point in my life, I actually had keys to the church. Now that's kind of a scary thought. But as a teenager, I had access to all the facilities there. And so, I mean, I would have to put 62 years in the bottom left-hand corner in terms of my membership in the First United Methodist Church. So now, from 1 not at all to 10 very well, indicate the extent to which you feel you are representative of the group. So as a Methodist, how much do I represent that? Well, I would have to put it maybe at a 6, maybe a 7. And again, the point isn't to have to explain your rating. It's just make your own subjective rating and put that in the bottom right-hand corner. Okay, so the idea is now you have created the sticky notes for all of the groups that you've listed having had contact with in the last several months. You've rated how positively you feel about the group. You've rated the degree to which you think that is you're representative of the group. And you've also shown how many years you've been part of that group. So the next question or the next challenge is to arrange your groups. And again, you can use the material that's in the handout, or if you're in the mural, you're welcome to put them on one of the circles that are over there on the right. Arrange your groups so that the distance between the groups indicate how different the groups are from each other. If 2 groups are very different, then separate them. They do different things, or it feels different being a member of the group, or they have different members. Put them far apart. If the 2 groups are similar to one another, put them close together. So in my case, I am also a Eagle Scout, and actually the scout troop that I was in was part of the Methodist Church. So I would put those 2 groups together. And I mean, they'd be really close together. I'm also part of a Sacred Fire group. And that is a very different cultural experience for me. It would be one of my big sticky notes because it's important. It would also be very positive, and I've been a member for about 10 years. But that would be further away from Boy Scouts and the Methodist Church, needless to say. Okay. And then lastly, how easy or difficult is it to be a member of two different groups? And this is represented by the lines that you draw between the two groups. So as a member of your sewing club, it might be easy to be a member of your family, but not so easy to be a member of your softball team. And when I do this, I think about in terms of when I'm at one group, how willing am I to talk about other groups that I'm a part of? There's some situations where I might be a little more reluctant to talk about the fact that I am a Methodist, or I might be reluctant to talk about I'm an Eagle Scout or that I belong to the Sacred Fire group because of the pushback or the prejudice that may come from me identifying as being part of those groups. So it's easy to be in the Methodist Church and be a Boy Scout. That'd be a straight line. It's moderately easy to be a member of my family and be part of the Sacred Fire community. That'd be a wiggly line. It's difficult to be a Methodist and part of the Sacred Fire group. So that would be a very jagged line. And again, this is a subjective assessment. There's no right or wrong answer. Comments or questions about this process?
I don't see any in the chat.
Okay. Well, let's see what we've got over here in the. Oh, nice. Okay. So we've got at least one. Oops. Okay. Okay, there's two. Good. So let's zoom in on this one. I'm gonna ask, is there somebody who would be willing to come on and tell us about this one?
Please raise your hand and I will click on you and we'll get you to share your video. We got Jocelyn, so let me.
Oh, nice. Hey, Jocelyn.
Boom. There's Jocelyn. You can share your video now too, Jocelyn.
I am trying to see. It's not giving me an option to share my video,
Ooh.
but it is allowing me to talk now.
Well, that's sorry we can't see your pretty face, but
Oh, thank you,
we
George.
can hear you.
So the Haven would be the Haven House, which is the recovery residence, which I am a part of. And so that takes up quite a bit of my time, which is why it's so large there.
Mhm.
And if I did this correctly, it said how many days a month am I involved in that, and it was 30. And then
So every day of
pretty much.
Okay.
And then how positive do I feel being a part of that group? And I gave it a 10.
Nice.
How pleased am I of being a representative of that group? I gave it a 10 as well. And
Okay.
then next.
So you believe that if somebody saw you and another member of the Haven, they would say, yeah, you look like one of those people. You sound like one of those people. You act like one of those people. You're very representative of the people who go to the Haven.
I am absolutely. I'm definitely a loud voice in recovery in our community. So yes, that would definitely be.
Excellent.
And then the next one was the bottom left-hand corner, correct?
Yes.
And
Computers.
that would be how many years have I belonged to that group, and it would be 1.
Good.
So the other ones are almost the same size cards, because right now we're in the developmental stages of Recovery Community Center out here in Douglas County. And so I've got that RCO development, and I didn't get a chance to put my numbers up there, but I'm involved in that 30 days, at least a month. It's a little bit different. I feel like it's about a 9 in how I feel, because there are days I feel like I'm just hitting walls. So I can't say that I feel a 10 in that, as well as it's about a 9 in my representation, because I'm not a business savvy kind of person.
Okay.
And it's been only 3 months that I've been a part of this. So I've got that one, and it's about the same size as involved in the 12-step groups I'm involved in. And I would say the same with that. It's every day of the month. I've been involved with that for 4 years. I have about an 8 in how I feel when I'm there. Sometimes, depending on which meeting and what all's going on. And then I feel about a 9 when my representation, because I am, like I said, I'm a loud voice of recovery out here in Douglas County.
No doubt.
Yes.
So I'd be curious, if you were to put your family on that chart, how big would the sticky note be?
It's definitely right now, because there's some enmeshment in my family, the RCO and the Haven House. It's about the same. I hadn't gotten to that yet, but it'd be
Okay.
about the same size.
All right.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. So I've got some additional questions I'll ask you in just a little bit. I want to see if there's anybody else who has a map. Susan, you want to talk about the family that you started to build a map around?
And we have Isidore with her hand. You said Susan?
Yeah, Susan Moore.
Susan. All right.
I think this is hers.
Myself. Hi there.
Hey,
Yeah,
Susan.
that's fine. Hi. Oh, I love these interactive ones. Makes it
Nice.
easy not to get distracted. Okay, so let me look at the thing instead of the screen. Hold on, that'll make it easier for me. Okay, so I did family. I apologize I didn't put it in the circle, but that will be very close to the me in the circle. I put 19 on family because that's how old my oldest daughter is.
Oh, okay.
And I remarried after I had children. So that's the definition of my family.
Mhm.
But I put a 9 because I have 2 teenagers. And because
Bless
I'm married. And so not everything is perfect at all times.
No doubt.
Upper left-hand corner, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then, oh no, where am I? What's my 30? I have it on my sticky note. So let me go back to my other sheet of paper.
That's how many days per month?
Yeah, I interact with them every day. Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
And then on the bottom right, 10. I feel very well, even though my it's not always positive, but almost always is positive.
Well, and so you feel like if people met others in your family, something about the way they act would be similar to how you act, or you're representative of the others that are in your family.
Yeah. Yes. Very much so.
Good.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like the other thing, the way I think about it, because I work with a lot of parents because I'm a parenting coach. And so I feel like also when they go out, my children, they represent my family. So, and also my husband too. So like if he goes out or if I go out into the world,
Sure.
I represent my family. So I am a representative. Oh, you know what that's like? That's like being a cares too, because when we show up, what's it called? Integrity. Like the
Yes.
integrity goes all the way through.
Mhm.
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, and so have you ever worked with people who felt like they weren't really representative of their family?
I have, and also they feel like they're embarrassed about somebody else's in their family, their behavior. It makes them very anxious.
Yes.
Mostly that one.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of tension or that lack of integrity
Mm-hmm.
can become a challenge for some people.
Mm-hmm. But you
So-
can't change them, and that's hard.
Well, that's right. And you have to sort of figure out how, I mean, you don't get to choose your family.
Mm-mm.
And so it's how do I support others in my family without finding myself so enmeshed in their problems or even trying to solve their problems for them. And in some
Mhm.
cases, being able to create that distance between this is your problem and I've got to learn to just sit in the suck sometimes with you.
Yeah. And kind of like the very first sticky exercise you did, just by kind of getting from, in my example, the family, all right, what is it that you need
Yes.
as a starting point for that
Yes.
conversation?
And it really does begin with how are you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Not because you need to fix it. I mean, the people who are anxious or nervous or who are depressed or whatever, it's not about fixing it. It's just acknowledging that you understand that. That's what gets us to second base, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely.
So if you were to add some groups to this that you've spent time with in the last several months,
Mm-hmm.
who might they be?
Okay, I've got them right here.
Okay.
So I have the family was the biggest one of all. And then the
Sure.
middle size, I have two recovery friends and tennis friends, and they are similar. They're very similar in numbers, but my recovery friends, much longer period of time that I've known them. But and what's interesting is that representative piece is a little bit lower on the recovery than the tennis, but I think it's because my recovery friends, we dig deep.
Yeah.
And my tennis friends, it's less, it's the more surface it is, the
Mhm.
easier it is to be high, I think, on
Yeah.
that upper left corner number. And the deeper it is. And then I didn't want to go, I know we have other people that want to go, but the two smaller ones I did want to talk about. Can I say those real quick?
Sure. Absolutely.
So one of them was my neighbors.
Hmm.
And they always like to do book club, and I'm doing air quotes on book club. Y'all know what that means.
Wow.
And so I choose not to participate because it's
Oh.
not fun watching women get tipsy or drunk and complain about their husbands and children. It's just not fun for me. And
Yeah.
it used to be.
Yeah.
So, no judging. So that was interesting to me. So they had to be small. And I noticed that the amount of time I spend with them is a low number.
Hmm.
So I felt good. I felt like, okay, I can still like them, but I have good boundaries for me, and it's protecting my recovery. And I feel like that's integrity.
Mhm.
And then here's the thing where I'm a little nervous about sharing is the last one was Facebook. And because that really is a group, and I really want to look at that. And
Yeah.
it's all about politics. And it's just, that's a 3 as far as representative of me. I'm not ashamed of my behavior on social media because I feel like I'm a kind person. But I think maybe sometimes I feel like I know there's a higher purpose, and that's like getting in there and rolling around with the pigs a little bit.
Mhm.
No offense to anyone who really enjoys politics. I do too. But I
Yeah.
just don't feel like it's serving me so much as it's just, I'm treading water and not going anywhere. So that was really interesting.
And it really is about whether or not the views that you see on Facebook, how representative that is of your worldview and your mindset.
Yeah, well, they do a good job of making sure I only see content, like they filter it out or whatever. But
Yeah.
I will say, even though it's filtered out, sometimes I'm cringing when I see, like, not to be Pollyanna, but the language that they use and the vitriol that, and I'm like, ooh, it just makes me uncomfortable. So I don't, it just, yeah, uncomfortable. So anyway, that was really interesting. And it helps me, this process, I think, is helping me achieve a goal. Even though I think I'm in a good direction, I've got more to grow and leaving Facebook. I'm not
Okay.
there.
Sure.
Thank
And it's and the thing about Facebook for me is there's almost this, well, it used to be this perpetual pull.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
and email has definitely gotten there.
Mhm.
It's if it a part of my mind says there's something important I need to see there. When in fact, 99% of the time, no, that's not true. But I still have that belief, and that got programmed into me at some point in the process. Because
Mhm.
I grew up, we didn't even have cell phones, much less all this
Yeah,
electronic stuff.
yeah. They get paid a lot of money for a reason.
Absolutely. Very nice. Well, thank you, Susan.
Thank you,
Appreciate you
George.
sharing.
Thank you.
So, Ralph, is that you in this one?
I think, gosh, they're popping up now.
Okay.
Isadora was next, but it looked like she put her hand down.
Well, Isadora, you want to come on and talk about it?
Yeah, there she goes. Boom.
Hey, Isadora.
You can share your video too.
I don't see how to share.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I
It
don't
should be
see-
in the top right corner, but if not, we could keep going. We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you well. Can't see that pretty face either, but we can.
Whatever.
So
Whatever.
is one of these maps yours, or you
No,
just
I'm on the phone, and my phone is not allowing me to do. I already did the sheet. I did it when I saw it in the.
Okay.
I had already completed the sheet, the social identity map. I wanted to have it ready and kind of get it out of the way so I can kind of see if I did it right, to be honest with you. So mine was mine all over the place because I had wrote a whole bunch of stuff, but I kind of like I got 4 of them in the outer circle and 3 of them on the inner circle and 1 of them in the middle, the small circle.
So maybe start with that one.
Oh, and that's the LinkedIn, because I'm not on it as much, but I'm on it. But I'm not as like the other ones.
Okay.
So I'm more LinkedIn. Especially since the pandemic, I've been more on LinkedIn a lot more, but not as much as Facebook and my family. And I do a lot of professional development where I do a lot of educational courses. I'm always adding myself to different business type, I just did not just y'all webinar, but I did one webinar a couple days ago, did 2 last week, because I'm always getting online with other people to learn different aspects of, it's different, professional development stuff. So
yeah,
I've been on that lately since the pandemic.
Sure. So what's your largest sticky note? Which group is
I got 4 of them the same, and that's work, my home group that I go to, my sponsor tree family, and y'all. Because I do y'all almost every time y'all click up, I try to click on something. So
nice.
Georgia Council.
Yeah.
in the last couple of months. So I should have put Facebook as the biggest one because I'm on there every day. So
Yeah, I get it.
that should have been my biggest one.
Mhm.
I just think that real quickly, since I kind of know where you're going now. So I look at the positive I feel about the group. I got 10s going all the way around, except for work. I'm kind of like a 7, I think, for us, how I feel about it. Because they do most of the talking. They kind of talk at us, not with us. So, I say 7. Georgia Council, I feel like it's about a 9 because you guys talk, but you do allow us to share. Facebook, I'll say it's about a 7. LinkedIn, about 8. Professional development is 10. Family is definitely a 10.
I'm just curious, why? What's the difference between the rating for Facebook and LinkedIn?
Facebook, it's like I really don't feel I don't know. I think I get on really to look at who's there because like family members, friends from high school, people you might know and just kind of start. But I don't feel like I don't think it's positive to be, a lot of stuff is not positive on there. And so I don't feel like I'm like, I don't feel positive about Facebook like I used to. I think it's a lot of mess going on. So I don't, but I'm still attracted to it because I can't get to Florida. I can't get to California. I can't get, so it attracts me so I can see what's going on in different places. But it's a lot of negativity. So I don't see the positive sometimes. So I feel it's like a 7 or something. LinkedIn is a little bit more positive, and it's talking about, different things that I can get to. Actually, that's where I get a lot of my professional development groups.
Sure.
So I get it from LinkedIn. So I think that's the difference. And, the same way as when you ask the question about your representative of the group, I was listening to the lady before me. I think I'm with her for as representative. I don't think I represent myself on Facebook like I do in real life because I'm more quiet on Facebook. I don't share that much because a lot of stuff is misconstrued and it's just a lot of mess. So I'm kind of disengaged a little bit with Facebook, like I would be at my home group or sponsor tree. We talk all the time. I'm very interactive with them. So those like 10s all the way around my work, with you guys at, Georgia Council,
Sure.
stuff like, so that's the difference.
Mhm.
Those.
Nice. Well, thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
So let's see. Let me check the time. Now we got anybody else want to jump in and talk about your social identity map?
I think Bernice was next. All right, Bernice, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Hey, George.
Hey, Bernice, how in the
Hey,
world
Dwayne.
are you?
I'm doing
Hey.
good. I did my social identity map a week ago. I was so excited to get on the symposium with you all, but a lot of things I didn't understand.
Like what?
I only put 4 things down here on the map, and since I've been on here, I've heard you say, I heard the other ladies talk about Facebook, their neighbors, LinkedIn, the family, a lot of different things that I'm a part of, but a lot of them, I don't think they are significant as the ones that I put down
Okay.
on my circle.
Mhm.
And you talked about the family, and why we always put the family down last. I don't understand that.
Well, so, I mean, a lot of times when we talk social,
Yeah.
family is so intimate that we might not really think about those connections as social connections.
I guess that's what happened to me. But I put down my church organization that
Sure.
I've been a member of for 55 years.
Nice.
And I'm very engaged in that organization, and the women empowerment recovery meeting that me and my sponsor started 2 years ago, I'm very involved in that.
Sure.
You know, a lot of times I don't want to attend because it's a low attendance, but I know then two are gathered, you know, it's a meeting.
Mhm.
You know, two or more gather, it's a meeting, and of course that's my home group, you know, but I attend other 12-step meetings that I like, you know, some I like better than others. And we have a ministry, a ladies ministry at church also that I'm involved in every month. So I say I put down for 4 weeks out of a month we have the women's ministry.
Nice.
And I also put down the stores where I go shop at, Ross and Cato's, and
There you go.
you know, being
And
involved.
you probably are there often enough to where you have some level of relationship with the people who operate those stores.
You know, I don't want to say that, but I do. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
this is very good. You know, I'm very engaged in this because it's helping me learn a lot.
Good.
You know. But that's all I got.
Well, thank you so much, Bernice.
You're welcome.
So who's next? We'll do one more.
Thanks, Michelle McKay. Let me click on, boom, there you go. You could talk now.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Hey, Michelle.
Hey, it's good to be here with you all. I can feel tears coming already.
Hmm.
And
We're with you.
I know that I'm a crybaby and that's okay. I put first the largest one of the largest ones is my immediate family, my daughters and my grandchildren.
Hmm. Many
Um,
grandkids?
yeah, 4 grandkids and 2 daughters.
Nice.
And I put them because that's where I feel more love. That's where I give my ultimate love to. I've been diagnosed with underlying health issues, you know, diabetes and lupus. And this lupus thing been hard for me to grasp.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, well, I'm trying to understand it, but I think that I try to associate myself with people where I feel the love because I'm so much in need of it now,
Sure.
more than anything. So I've been knowing them all their life. My oldest one is 41, the next one 35. Grandchildren 17, 6, 5, and 13. So I need them.
Yeah. Well, they're
You
your
know,
pride and joy, and they're
yeah.
the hub of your life.
Right. And the other, I gave those 10, and I see them. Well, I don't see my one in Savannah too much, especially with this pandemic going on.
Yeah.
But the other ones that are here, which are 3, I see them probably 20 days out of the month. My next one is the largest is my therapist, because I had to have somebody professional to help me cope and teach me strategies to deal with the health issues,
Sure.
Sheltering in place and all of that. So that's spiritual growth for me. Another one I have that's very large is my recovery network and my close friends. I talk to someone in recovery every day, which is helpful. A medium one is the virtual recovery meetings. And I get I get real reluctant. I do about 3 of those a week. I get reluctant to share because some things that's going on with me, I don't want to share,
Sure.
uh, which is why I go to my recovering friends.
Mhm.
All of that is positive for me. And the smallest one I have is my extended family. That's not easy at all. I'm the only cousin really that don't, when they do something, I don't go because it's the pandemic. But number two, before the pandemic, I wasn't going because that's a lot of drinking, loud music, dance, and I just don't do that.
Yeah.
So I don't really feel connected to them in that way. Um,
They don't really represent your values at this point.
they don't, and they don't under, they say they don't understand why I don't come, but I understand why I don't come.
Sure.
You know, I'm just constantly trying to grow, um, deal with my health, make sure I take care of myself. But pretty much everything that's on my map is it helps me self-acceptance, it helps me with awareness, it helps me with unconditional love, it helps me with gratitude, it helps me to increase my relationship with God. So I'm very, very grateful. I immediately jumped on this map, and just wrote everything down. I think I might even call Dwayne about it because I'll call him in a minute if I don't understand something.
Good.
He's very good at showing me and getting it done immediately. So thank you, Dwayne. I thank you all for allowing me to share, and it is just a blessing as always. Cares is one of the most important things in my life, because the love is always there and the genuineness is always there. So we maybe not at a event or a connect or whatever, but I feel just as close to you all at home as if I were there.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, George.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you, Ms. McKay.
Thank you, Mr. Dwayne, for everything that you do to help me. I appreciate it.
Problem.
So I do want to ask you, those of you who filled out the map, just a few post-mapping considerations. So number one, how many groups are in your map? And if you filled out the handout, you put that number in. The number of groups is associated with having significant self-esteem as well as self-efficacy, meaning the ability to step in and be responsible, not just for you, but for those groups as well. And then the number of important groups really gets to who you consider to be most meaningful and most relevant to yourself. These are the number of large stickies. And the question I always like to ask related to this is, where are the groups that you go to have fun? And I don't mean, I'm not just talking about sitting in a circle and sharing. I'm talking about what strengths and skills and hobbies and talents and abilities. What groups do you do that with? And then thirdly, how many positive groups do you have? 8, 9s, or 10s? Because there's some groups that we belong to just because, well, we've belonged to them for a long time, but they don't really have that much of a positive influence on us. So in reviewing your own social identity map, how proud of you are of that map? And you could rate it 0 to 10, with 0 being not at all proud and 10 being very proud. And then if we were able to explore this further, I'd say, what do you like about your map? And then I'd ask the all important question, what could be better about your map? And in some cases, it's, well, maybe a few less groups. Maybe it's spending less time on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Maybe it's developing some new interests. Any or more of those sorts of ideas may come into mind when you look at your map and you think, what could be better about this? And then what, if anything, are you thinking about doing to increase the number of groups or to increase the amount of time that you spend with one or more groups? And ideally, we're really talking about the groups that you have the highest number in terms of how positive you think those groups are. Now, notice throughout this whole process, I haven't said anything about behavioral health or recovery related groups. This is a generic process, but we could do this and look specifically at which of the groups are pro recovery versus not so much. We could do this in terms of if you were a returning citizen, for example. How many of those groups represent pro-social values as opposed to anti-social values? And that leads the discussion in a different direction. Not completely different, because the point is still the same. You get to pick who you spend time with. And that directly impacts the quality of your life and the quality of what you think about yourself. So the research is pretty clear in this regards. Multiple group membership predicts diverse outcomes such as changes in self-esteem, preserved cognitive functions in aging. It mitigates depression, loneliness, and substance use resumption. It's associated with increased physical resilience and enhanced recovery from stroke. The research shows that multiple positive group memberships are a powerful predictor of health and well-being. And more specifically, the gains in the number of important groups and the number of positive groups and group compatibility, which really wasn't part of this exercise, but we could talk about that, predict improved life satisfaction and decreased depression. So this has ramifications for the quality of life that you and I currently are experiencing. And it is relevant as a way of thinking beyond, I've got to fix something inside of me. The problem is in me. No, it's about how I'm connecting and with who am I spending time. So the suggested next step, there's a handout here. And again, if you are in the mural, you can go down here to the bottom right-hand corner, and there's a little button. You can click on that little open button and it will open this document. And you can see, but basically the question is, who is a expert companion that you can spend time with? So expert companion is kind of a generic way of saying who are your peer supporters? People who have more experience dealing with the life challenges that you're facing than you do. And this is a guide to kind of go through how you can develop those connections. So I also want to point out in the mural that there are references if you want to delve deeper into the research. And again, for each one of these, there's a place down here at the bottom where you can click on the open button and it will automatically pop up these documents. But this first one by Cruz really is the heart of what I've presented here today. The one by Lenny Jason is more about a global social networks measure. And then the last one here by David Best and his colleagues really gets into specifics with regards to looking at recovery capital and how that impacts young people's recovery. So those are available for those of you who are in the mural and want to connect on those open buttons. You can open those resources. So at the beginning, I asked you to pay attention to listening to the song. And if you wanted to, you could put into the chat how many words you can make with Ubuntu. And I saw we had several folks who did that. So you deserve a prize. In fact, everybody deserves a prize. So again, the way to get these prizes is just click on these open links. This one is a 30-minute burning candle. It's a great way to meditate or be mindful about what's going on inside and outside of you. The second one is a 7-minute, it's called the world's most relaxing film. Part of what really works to help people is to connect with Mother Nature. And one of the things that I find most helpful on a regular basis is to connect skin to Mother Nature. So go out and lay on your lawn. And I literally mean start off belly down and spend 5 minutes with your eyes closed, absorbing what comes from the ground. And then turn over and spend 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be, it can be longer than 5 or shorter than 5, but turn over and open your eyes and experience the vastness of what Mother Nature has to provide for us. And then the last prize, if you're interested, is 3 hours of relaxing sleep music. Probably the single most significant indicator of a person's health is the quality of their sleep. And a lot of people are having trouble with that these days, and for a lot of different reasons. So I want to move into this last piece. We've talked about how you construct a social identity map. Hopefully now you can recognize the psychological significance of the groups to which you belong. You can identify the differences and the compatibilities among those groups, and perhaps explain a next step to enhance your social identity. What I want to invite the folks who are in the mural to do is to come here, and we're going to take a few minutes to do a AAA checkout. So what I'd like to invite you to do is duplicate. Again, just double click and it'll create a new sticky note. And you can type in one of 3 answers or responses. What's one thing that you appreciate about this webinar? Maybe what's one thing you want to apologize for? Or maybe what's one aha? Maybe something that you've learned over the last hour and 20 minutes. Those of you who aren't in the mural, if you want to add that to chat, I'll be glad to cover those once we've had a chance to look at the ones that are in the mural. Okay, well, I see we've got a appreciate for the Haven House. Nice. Someone else says they appreciate the perspective on social groups I have and how they support recovery in pro-social activities. Nice. Got an apology for not doing the pre-work. You know, life is busy, and I get that other priorities sometimes can sneak in and kind of rob your time and don't necessarily even know that's what's happening. Also, see a note here to Ralph says he appreciates those that spoke. There's also an appreciation for the transparency and the vulnerability that was shown by the folks who shared. Have another one that says grateful and thankful through it all. And then one learning or aha is that I don't have as many groups as I thought. And then it's possible to interact without talking. Yes, absolutely. And that's part of the magic, I think, of being able to have multiple ways of interacting with people. And it's not all verbal. A lot of our experience as human beings is you almost can't put it into words. And so that's why at the beginning, there's that one feeling that says, I don't know how I'm feeling. And it's about being okay with the fact that people don't necessarily need to talk in order to get something out of what they're experiencing. Any others in chat? I see Tony says I need to reconnect, been disengaged since death of my mother. I appreciate the whole webinar. Very nice. Thank you, Chip. Appreciate that encouragement. So let me just say that behavior is always a function of the interaction between people and their environments. And the traditional approach is to put the emphasis on the P side of that formula and say the problem is in the person. When in fact, no, not really. The person is only half of the formula, and the environment and the social context contributes to what we do. I've got a neighbor that I rely on to each day be standing at the end of the driveway expecting me to show up so that we can take a walk. And I have no doubt that if this neighbor wasn't there, I probably wouldn't walk as many days as I do. So this really is about that ability to connect and harness the empowerment that comes from those relationships. And it really does show up when we stop and take stock of where we are in the bigger world, in the social networks that we spend a lot of time on. So we've got a couple more minutes. Any comments or questions before we sign off?
Isidore said, I really appreciate this webinar. I actually never really thought about it. Wow.
Nice.
You wowing people, George.
Thank you, Isidore.
Chip says, this has been good. I appreciate the heart you all bring to this work.
You too, Chip.
Margaret says, this was so awesome. If anybody has any questions or wants to share, feel free to raise your hand. We still got a minute or so.
Thank you, Denise. Appreciate you being here. And your resilience since the death of your son is remarkable. Well, so let me just close out. I want to play a little something. And you hopefully by now recognize this musician.
I feel like my life just started. I feel like the water's parted. I am in the promised land. When I'm with you, holding your hand, looking out through the window of my life. You walked up and cleared away to feel the pain and strife. I love you. I love you. When I hug you, I'm in no doubt. I love you. I love you. When I hug you,
I'll be well.